little description of what this patch is doing. So I've got 3 sound modules going on here. I've got the surface, I've got the plats, the U plats from CalSynth, and I've got the BIA. The surface is going into the mimeophone, and then from the mimeophone, it just goes into the mixer. The plats is going into the Desmodus Versio. From there, it goes into, where does it go? It goes into the Qubit Prism. It has some filter modulation there. And then from there, it goes into the mixer. The BIA goes into the Monsoon. And then from there, it goes into the mixer. And then, so I can just play you each of those things. So I think this is the surface. Without the mimeophone, with the mimeophone. The mimeophone's time is getting modulated by the maestro. And then this is the BIA with like a super short decay here, and that's going into the Monsoon, so you get that kind of like gritty, granular kind of vibe. That's getting sequenced by the chants here, which I'll talk about a little bit more soon. And then the plats. That's just like the dry plats sound. And then if we turn up the Desmodus Versio, and the Desmodus Versio is great because, this is no feedback at all basically on the reverb. And then up to about midnight or noon. Noon is basically infinite. And then after that, it starts to get kind of out there. And then you turn it all the way up, it kind of side chains itself to stuff coming in. And then, that's going through Prism here. In terms of sequencing, I've got the PAMs as my main clock, and then that is sending 16th notes into this buff up here, this mult up here, buffered mult, and then it's sending kind of just an always on signal to this second mult here, and then that's what I'm using to feed the steppy here. Then I've also got 16th notes going to the maestro to clock that. And what else am I clocking from here? Oh, I guess I'm clocking the twigs. Okay, yeah. So 16th notes are coming from PAMs. They go into the mult. They're going to a few places. And then one of those places is the twigs here, which when a signal comes in here, based on where the slider is, it has a chance of going either output 1 or output 2. And at that point, those pulses are either going to trigger the plats or the surface. And so you kind of get like, they're both kind of always playing a note, but they're not always playing at the same time. So either one or the other every time. So if I turn them both on, you'll probably be able to hear. If I turn off their effects. So they never trigger at the same time, but there's always one happening on every 16th note. For the BIA here, I am passing it through the Monsoon, and it's getting triggered by the chants here using the chances, the rhythm output? And the chants is getting the same 16th notes from that mult as everything else. So on channel 2 of PAMs, I basically have a triangle shape at the 64x, so it's super long. It just basically goes up and up and up, and I'm sending that to this mult here. And then that way I can use that kind of long build to increase the rhythm. So that basically means that it increases the number of pulses it sends to the BIA. So it gives you kind of more of that percussive thing going up. I'm also sending it to some of the other parts of the BIA to kind of change the sound, make it a little fatter as it goes. And speaking of making the thing sound fatter, after the mixer, I'm going into the This says this Modus Versio here. I actually loaded the Ruina Versio firmware on it, so it's kind of a distortion. And so as the pattern continues and the PAM sends that long like CV going up, it increases the kind of gain distortion as things go up. And so that's why you hear things kind of like deteriorate almost. Also, just I should note, after the distortion, it just goes into the compressor here and then out. Yeah. What else is going on? On the mimetic digitalis, I'm using that just to sequence pitches on this U-plats and the surface. And I am just basically clocking from the steppy the X input. And so you can see it just keeps on going and going on the same row here. And then on the PAMs, I have another 64x output. So basically, as the long rising thing ends, it sends a trigger out and basically advances on the Y input here. And so you kind of get this long building pattern of kind of the same notes. And then eventually it will kind of, everything will drop back down in terms of the things that were kind of getting that long rising thing, and it'll go to the next pattern. I'm using scales to just quantize what's coming out of the mimetic digitalis. And yeah, I think I've covered everything. I'm using maths for some slew on pitch, as well as I think a little bit of attenuation from the maestro, although you can attenuate on the maestro now. And I am using the oct to do some basic modulation on the monsoon. Yeah, I think that basically covers the patch. Let me know if you have any questions. Thanks for watching.